Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Zone Star State podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Ishmael Johnson. And today, Ish, we are joined by Coach Ron Hughey for Houston women's basketball. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good, man. I woke up this morning and, that's the best thing about it. It's a blessing to see another day and never take those days for granted and never take those things for granted as well. So, that's the best part of my day is I get a chance to open my eyes again. I'm going to make the best of it.
Yeah, well, we had you on last year, and obviously we had a great time, so we definitely want to have you on again this year as we look ahead to the season. I know it's football season for everybody, but we're looking ahead to the basketball season. And just, I guess we could start off just jumping right into kind of what it was like last year, jumping up to the Big 12, getting, used to all that and having to go through all of those battles. Just what was your takeaway from last year as a whole, and, what'd you learn?
When you're young and you're watching those Tom and Jerry cartoons and, Tom, sits Jerry on his lap and he just starts smacking him and cutting his butt. So that's what it was like jumping into the Big 12 for us. But, we really had some good moments and some individual moments as well. But the overall, to understand the beast of the conference is just that. Coming from, I was in the SEC, I was in the Big 12 before, I was in the ACC, so I understand, what it's like when you have to move up and try to go ahead and perform again. The thing that makes it different now is everybody's going in the transfer portal, so you can be instantly good or instantly bad. The thing that's missing is the depth that you used to create and have those kids where you've been running your system for 4 or 5 years, or maybe even 8 to 10 years. And then you go into a new conference like Merrimack did with their system, their kids, and they have to get a lot of transfers, and they were able to, do well. I'm talking about on the men's side and, on the conference and all that kind of stuff. But again, it's different now. And, but the Big 12 is just so loaded that, we were able to compete, but it came down to Imanu. We talking about head to head. Let's see if your player is better than my player. And they were in the Big 12, so they got Big 12 players. We were coming from the Americans, so we probably got half, Big 12 players and half American players, and that's where it came down to. There's no more X and O's then at that point. It's all about the Jimmies and the Joes, and their Jimmies and the Joes showed up, and we still have some work to do.
Knowing that you guys, when you were in the AAC, had one of the best defenses, that was what you pride yourself on. Did you have to what did you find yourself having to adjust, knowing that, you couldn't defend the same way maybe against some of the teams that, like you mentioned, had the better Joes, or at least the bigger Joes, right? How'd you find yourself having to adjust last year?
The biggest thing that we tried to do was try to get them to understand that we wanted to limit the best player from getting the basketball. Mm-hmm. So if we couldn't deny everybody like we normally did in American and turn people over 30 times and all that kind of stuff, we can at least deny their best players. Mm-hmm. So if you were coming in the game, Matthew, and you averaging 18 shots, we wanted to at least cut you in half. Mm-hmm. So at least that'll at least give us an opportunity where we can keep the ball out of Matthew's hands so he couldn't, that kind of stuff. But the problem we started running into, and now Ishmael started to get on fire because he's a big player too, and he's been waiting for these opportunities to get more shots, and that's what we started to run into. So we'll cut the head off of one snake, and then another one will grow someplace else, and that's the way things start to happen for us. And then you start like, man, we're really snake bitten because what we used to do was really good, but you had to find a way, and you had to figure out a way. But that was the issue. They just had better players where we can cut one off, or we can take the point guard away from this. And most of the time in America, we take the point guard away, and now they struggle to run their offense because they got to get a 2 guard or a 3 guard. Well, you got combo kids in the Big 12. So their 2 guard can run the offense, and they can send the point guard to the corner. And, it just is that kind of stuff that we start to run into.
Yeah. That's what happens when Ish and I go play pickup. We're just
everybody focuses on him, and that leaves me wide open.
I'm the Steve Nash. He's like Sean Marion.
Gotcha.
In terms of, and y'all ended with 5 conference wins here, which considering the jump up, you still won some games, and you were obviously competitive in other games as well. 6 points to Oklahoma, 5 points to UCF, go down the list. Just what made you I guess, the most proud of that group that you had in terms of staying together and being competitive in this step up, which, I mean, for everybody that stepped up from UCF, Cincinnati, like, everyone took their lumps to a degree. What were you most proud of in that stretch?
You hit it on the head, just sticking together. Because we watched some teams go, 8 losses in a row and 6 losses in a row. And I think we got to 4 or 5 one time, because it's so tough. I think we had a defining moment. We went to K-State, and they bent us over hard, and they swung back from Georgia, and and right after that we went to Baylor, and the same thing. And so that trip really, we got back and we kind of just sat down and talked, didn't even practice about what we want for the rest of our season. And they said, we're not going to get embarrassed. We're going to go out and we can compete every single time, and we're going to stick together. We're going to not fall apart on courts. We're not going to let any of this stuff come between us, because there's much greater things in life than a basketball game. Even though we're going to go out and compete our hardest. And you said it right there, was the idea of sticking together and not letting the adversity take advantage of us. And we're doing everything we can and preparing the best way we could to stick together to fight through those moments. But that was it. That was it. Just most proud of them sticking together and not saying we're not going to come out of this thing with just 1 win or 2 wins. We're going to try to go and get as many as we possibly can. And, Brandon, we went to Kansas to play, and Brandon, the head coach down there, they beat us. And it was a really good game until the last 5 or 6 minutes, and they pulled away from us. And after the game, he said, Hughey, you have no reason to hold your head down. Your kids fought like crazy. He said, let me tell you something. We did not win a game my first year in the Big 12. He said we went over. So for what your kids are doing right now, pat them on the back and keep pushing them. But he said we didn't win a game. He said, I'm quite sure you can talk to some of these other coaches, and you'll find out when they got to the Big 12 or when they took over, they didn't win games.
Yeah.
So those are some moments that we had that we were, and I kind of shared those with the team, that, yeah, we had some tough times, but again, we stuck together and we got through those and persevered.
It looks like, for me at least, looking at who you brought in this offseason, you focused a lot on experience and a lot on like players who were experienced at this level. Of course, Kateri Poole from LSU, Ashley Chevalier from Texas Tech. Was that your primary concerns? Like, let's bridge that gap. And then obviously other players like Peyton McFarland playing another year in your system. Was that your biggest concern, where it's like, I need players who are experienced and know how to play at this level?
Exactly. That was it. We just need Big 12 players. Last year we had, a filter here and there with 4 or 5 kids that played at the Power 4, Power 5 level, which one you want to choose to call it. But there wasn't major. There wasn't major players at those schools that they were transferring from. And so that's the thing. We want to get kids who are experienced and being able to go, Katera, won a national championship, was a starter on that team. Aaliyah Love, played 20 or 25 minutes at Louisville, went to 2 Sweet 16s. We wanted to get those kind of kids that had an opportunity to play at a higher level and understood what it's like. And you can see the difference in practice already. And we only using, 4 hours a week right now, going an hour a day, 4 days a week. But their voices and their leadership is there already, because they understand what we're going into. They understand the fight. They understand when you're coming 6 feet out from me and we're getting ready to draw them pistols. They understand that that moment is now, and we take those paces and turn around and look at each other. They understand what's ahead. So they're starting to forge this team in that right direction right now.
How big is it to have that kind of experience around Layla Blair, and to help her, and to, obviously complement her game and what they all bring in terms of experience and obviously what they do on the court?
It's huge. So when we finally got them all together in practice, and I heard all the voices and Layla and them, and as a coach, you just go back like this right here. And you're like, finally, you don't have to damn scream your head off. You don't have to, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
You have the pieces, the Jimmies and the Joes that understand in place to be able to know what it looked like, what it's supposed to look like, to be able to govern themselves, to be able to do that. And so you get that, I know what Kim Mulkey get a feeling of, and Vic Schaefer, and you get that feeling. We're not there on their level, but we're understanding who we are and how we need to do things. But that's a great feeling when you have that type of leadership on the floor with that type of accountability with those players. It really makes you sit back. Like some days I let them just go ahead and run the practice. I'm there to be able to intervene, to help them through and all of it. But their voices are the one that's saying we're doing the next thing, because if we're not developing leaders at the end of the day and getting these people to be accountable, to understand that the thing that you're doing in basketball is just a smidget of what you're going to face in life and the things that you're going to have to carry yourself through, then why are we doing it? And so that's what we try to push them through to that.
When it came to somebody like Layla Blair, like Bruni was mentioning, how satisfied was it for you as a coach to see her kind of just continue to do what she did in the AAC against this competition, against teams who know very well, like, oh, that's the girl for them, right? And it didn't matter. She was able to basically just do what she always did.
Exactly. The one thing I was most proud about Layla was she didn't try to do too much. I mean, there were times we played TCU the first time, she gave them 30. We played them the second time, they put a bigger, stronger, faster person on top of her, and she didn't get as many shots, and they keyed in on her and all that kind of stuff, and she didn't lose her mind. She didn't kick stuff. She didn't blame teammates. She didn't, because she had nights like that. Baylor, she couldn't make a shot at Baylor, but she never loses her mind because she's faith-based, and she understands that. But just to see her go through that and see her grow, because even at the end of the year, you know how many people called her and said, Layla, we got NIL money for you. We got collective money for you. You don't have to stay there and do that kind of stuff. And she was like, no, this is what I started and this is where I'm finishing. And again, she trusted the process that we're going to put some great players around her. So that's why I'm most proud of her, because she could have easily did what everybody else is doing across the country. Just leave. That's why I admire the little Arizona, quarterback and receiver there. Yeah. We're not going to leave. The guys at Colorado State, we're going to stay. We're going to stay. We're going to do this thing the way we're supposed to do it. We'll probably get money where we are, or we probably could get more, but you appreciate the ones that stay in the fight and the fold with you in a time where that's not sexy.
In terms of your returners, even outside of Layla, who would you say that you've been impressed with in terms of their development? I know we talked about Peyton McFarland and her returning, but even beyond her, just what have you seen from the returners, and who would you kind of say have had good summers?
Oh, you said it. Peyton and Malia Johnson have lived in the gym. Layla always lives in the gym. Yeah, those two lived in the gym so much that when the kids had a break in May, we finished school May 5th, and they're supposed to be back June 1st. They didn't go home. They stayed and worked out. It was a week before school started, and I went to both and said, go home. Enough is enough. Go home and at least see family, touch base, get some hugs, that kind of stuff. They did that, came back. They had the best spring and summer, those two. And it's going to really, really pay off for them. The thing that's so crazy about it is both of them are, seniors this year, and they both said this is the first time they ever did it, and they wish they did it when they were freshmen and sophomores. Yeah. And I said, exactly, because it's a hell of a feeling. It's a hell of a feeling when you put all that work in to know that work is going to come back to you, but they wish they were mature enough in past years to be able to do that. And I'm just telling them right now, just let that carry you for the rest of your life. Don't have any regrets on something that you can control.
When it comes to, you mentioned a little bit with the, the NIL and the transfer portal and things like that. One, from y'all's perspective, obviously being in a power conference, you guys have your own resources as well, but there's always a have more, right? In today's era. What's it like navigating that, but also looking at it from other perspective, like how do you guys scout for the season, right? Knowing that like, oh, they got so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so this year. I was like, oh, we don't know who's on that team. I guess that's a two-part question, but how does that come into your, planning?
Exactly. Navigating the NIL is tough as hell. Just because so many businesses, so many people reaching and grabbing at the young ladies to try to be able to do stuff. So we have a place in a format in place for them called Lincoln Cougs. They kind of navigate that for us with the NIL. Take Layla right now, who has electrolytes, the sports drink. She has Canes, the chicken tenders place. She has.
Have you not had Canes, coach?
Oh, I love it.
Okay, okay.
I love it. My 6-year-old, we're gonna have high cholesterol messing with him because of it. But she has all of those, and we got a guy who takes care of and navigates it for them. Sign contract, these kind of appearances they have to make. Taxes already being taken out, so they kind of take care of that. And I'm so thankful that they do that, because I would lose my mind trying to, navigate that part of it, And then the planning part, because again, it's the toughest part that we have. I wish our scheduling was like football. Everybody always talk about football scheduling. They're playing this one. I told them the football schedule is 4 and 5 years out.
Yeah.
So everybody already know, Georgia played Clemson this past year, first game. Clemson plays LSU next year, first game. And you already can look online and see their schedule already. Yeah. And I wish we did that in basketball. But the only reason they don't do it because they don't know who they're going to have from year to year.
Right.
And so that's the thing that they're afraid of, to be able to do that, because again, exactly what you said, how we're going to set our schedule, how are we going to get these scouts, how are we going to do those things when you don't know who you're going to have on your team. But the one thing that you have to do, you have to have a system in place to be able to take care of all of it. Once you live by your system, then you're not adjusting to other people. And that's how I've always been. We've always been a run and jump team. We've always been a pressure team. We've always been a man team. So we're making some provisions with that just because of the transfer portal and the number of kids you can get. It's hard to implement those systems if you don't have returners been through those kind of systems. So we're going to some matchup zone. We're going to some zone press stuff, but it's still going to be in a pressing style. It's still going to be in your face. But we've got to have our ways that where when you start looking at scouting, how we can take the best players away. Because the thing for us is really, really simple. How can we create 20 more shots for us and give you 20 less? The other thing is we do that between pressing, forcing turnovers, offensive rebounds, getting to the free throw line, and trying to play a pace that no other team want to play. Now, that's going to switch for us a little bit this year because we don't have as many players in the depth, and I need my best players. That's another thing I found out in the Big 12. You got to have your best players on the floor all the time.
Yeah.
That's why some people are playing their best players 32, 33, 34 minutes. I was like, how are they going to do that all year? But they did. Right. And here I am trying to save Layla, and keep her under 28 and 27 so she's fresh, and people are like, nah, go play.
Yeah.
So we got to have our best players on the floor. So we're going to have some games where we're going to have 75, 80 possessions, and we're going to have some games where we're going to come in against, Georgia, our second game, and we're going to have 50 possessions this game because we're not going to let them run up and down the floor. So we're going to do a little better job on scouting and doing some things we need to do in that area to try to protect our players a little bit. And again, we don't know who the roster is going to be from year to year. So we got to be able to take each one of them and look at them in the finest detail that we possibly can.
Yeah, I was looking at the non-conference schedule. Do you like how it all came together? I know, like you said, Georgia, Rice, North Texas, a trip to New Orleans, take on Minnesota. Do you like how all that turned out for y'all? I know scheduling is so hectic that when it's all done, you kind of just put it away.
Yeah, my assistant coach Ty does it. She's my associate, and she's been with me ever since I've been here. And when she sets the schedule, she just set the schedule. I was like, whatever.
Just line up. Go tip the ball off. Exactly. Roll it out.
Exactly. I'm in women's basketball, and I follow directions well because I'm on the women's side. I have a wife at home, and everything. So she just tells me what to do with the scheduling part of it. But yeah, we're happy with the way it came together. We get a chance to test ourselves. We get a chance to have some home games. I thought last year we played too many home games in a row. We got comfortable, and when first time we got a chance to go on the road, it was a shock to us, So we wanted to take care of that early this year. Play one at home, go on the road, then come back and see how that worked for us.
Yeah.
The other thing was the Minnesota. We wanted to make sure we have somebody really good at our Thanksgiving tournament to be able to take care of that part of it. And close enough to where families could still come, and a destination place where out-of-state families would come as well. You know.
Yeah, make a little trip to New Orleans, down to
Yeah,
Bourbon Street.
exactly.
The second part of that is obviously the Big 12 changing, Texas, Oklahoma leaving, but then you get Colorado, Arizona, fill in the blank, all of them, Utah, everybody. Just how do you approach it now with your second year going into the Big 12, and then also it being still a little bit of a different conference?
Just say I'm scouting now.
Yeah, you got what, 20 conference games this year, right?
18.
So okay, yeah, 18, but you got however many teams y'all got. That's a lot of work to put in.
Exactly. When you bring in Utah, you saw what they did. Arizona, you know who they are. You saw what they did, and they're all tournament teams. Colorado beat Baylor, beating LSU like that, and then what they did down the stretch. I mean, it just the conference didn't do us any favors, So we really appreciate the competition, and it's going to be a tough battle. But we're already breaking everything down for them right now, trying to get tendencies of who can do what with the players they have. Even the players that they transferred in, we're pulling their clips to see their tendencies and everything right now, because we have to be as detailed as we possibly can to try to give our girls the best advantage. The number one thing I learned as a coach through my high school coach is you have to have your group prepared. And when you feel good that you're prepared, you have to instill that in them. That's the worst thing a coach can do, is not have your team prepared for whatever they might see. That's the worst thing you can do. So we're trying to do that in the finest detail that we possibly can.
All right. Ish, you got anything else?
No, that's all I got, man.
All right. Well, we'll let you go, Coach. Thank you for joining us. Let you get some Raising Cane's chicken fingers here. If you want to plug it for Layla right here, do a little ad read. Do you have any? You got to get some NIL, Coach. Get on commercials.
Exactly. I'm available for NIL. But Raising Cane's, thank you for doing so much for Layla. My son, 6-year-old team, Pearland Hurricanes, he plays tackle football. They got their first game this weekend. They also sponsor by Raising Cane's.
There you go.
Yeah, we appreciate Raising Cane's for that. But hey, man, you guys need to do all my interviews, man. I can really have fun with you guys. Some of these days are not like this, man. Thank y'all so much, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, Coach.
It's September, man. We're talking ball. We're talking basketball. We got hoops already on our minds, man. This never stops. Ball never stops for us. But yeah, Coach, thanks for joining us. For everybody listening, leave a like, comment, share, subscribe on the YouTube if you haven't already, and we will talk to y'all later.
Exactly, man.